Will this work?
Short term, I think the Mavs can win the title. Now, Wildes, what do they call me?
Well, they call you Mr. Consistent.
Wow. Indeed. And what was my pick
even after
to win the title before the year?
Mavericks
the
to
Mavericks.
Win, and you've been consistent.
So I'm not going to change that now. And what I will say is, in the very, very short term, Kyrie could solve the Mavs' biggest issue right now, which we can show it to you, which is when Luka's not on the court, they go from the best offense in the NBA to the worst offense in the NBA.
Not great.
On the court, that would be the best offense in the league. Off the court, that'd be the worst offense in the league. And by the way, he's missed 7 games, and they are 0-7 in those games. So when Luka's out there, they're great. They're a great team. And when he's not, they're terrible. And we do know that Kyrie, the only playoff success he's ever had, has been alongside a heliocentric player. Now, Luka's not the defender LeBron was when LeBron was in Cleveland, but offensively, they're the most similar players in the league. So, and as Brew has mentioned, Kyrie worked well alongside Harden briefly in Brooklyn. So for the very, very short term, Brew, I think this potentially could work. For the long term, I think when Luka Doncic ultimately leaves the Mavs, this will be part of the first paragraph of that story.
Yikes.
That the Kristaps trade was the first domino, the flailing about with Jalen Brunson, not giving him 4 years, $55 million that he would have taken last Christmas, and then letting him walk for nothing, and then desperately trading away a valuable piece in Dorian Finney-Smith, trading away your ability to trade for a more reliable star in the future, will be one of the reasons that Luka, when this contract is up 3 years from now, it goes elsewhere. But in the very short term, it's a desperation move that might work. In the long term, they're getting into the Kyrie Irving business, and that literally never works for anybody in the long run.
Wow. Nick Wright, I am not going to let you get away with that.
What?
I am not going to. What is very, very, very short term? 3 weeks?
The rest of the season.
A month and a half? That's about how long you have before, as you would always say, Kyrie's going to implode.
Yeah.
So here you are, my oh my, how the tables have turned.
What are you talking about?
I had to listen to Nick Wright for the past 2-3 months talk about, Brew is hypnotized with the hezzy and the nice moves around the basket and the Harlem Globetrotter stuff, which is Kyrie Irving. And now you are sitting here telling me that Kyrie Irving is about to win a championship, not with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, 2 top 10 players, but just with Luka. Just with Luka.
Just with the second best player in the league.
I will not let you. All this Mr. Consistency stuff, I'm not sure, because you were just ripping Kyrie the last time we were on the air.
Yeah.
Oh, how I wish I were in studio today. My goodness.
Bro, just quickly. Everything I warned you about with Kyrie came to pass. Everything
is it going to come to pass? It's not going to come to pass in Dallas?
Well, Luka's a hell of a better leader than Kevin Durant. Luka has a stronger personality than Durant. And Luka at this point Luka's not sharing the team with Kyrie Irving. There's no co-management structure the way that Kyrie Wildes thought there was with him and Durant and Sean Marks and Joe Tsai. None of that's happening. Kyrie right now is a hired gun mercenary that is out there. And by the way, I don't love this move for Dallas. I wouldn't have made this move if I were Dallas because of the long-term ramifications. But in the very short term, with Steph Curry out a month, with the Western Conference to me being in utter disarray, and whoever comes out of the East will have gone through a bloodbath for the previous month of the Eastern Conference playoffs, I understand Dallas doing it, but to me it's the sign of a desperate team that is already worried about Luka's future.
I'm wildly worried about the amount of isolation plays they're going to run. Let's look at the NBA ranks this season. Points, Luka's second and Kyrie's 11th. Usage rate, Luka's second. I think Giannis is first. ISO rate, Luka's third and Kyrie's 8th. So it seems to me that Kevin Durant is a far easier player to play with, where these guys are going to do what? Watch each other cook?
They're going to
dribble the ball 50 times and take it to the hole?
Does anybody, wait, let me ask Brew you this as well. is anybody doubting that the Mavs for the rest of the year are going to have the best offense in basketball? Because what you just talked about are offensive concerns, and I have none. The Dallas Mavericks, from this date forward, once Luka's back healthy, once Luka and Kyrie are playing, so probably in a few days, because the Kyrie trade technically hasn't even gone through the league office yet because there might be a third team involved, as you discussed. They are offensively, they will be the best offense in basketball. Hands down, better than the Nuggets. Now, if the correct concern, in my opinion, is Luka and Kyrie defensively as a backcourt combo, that's rough. And that's why the Mavs might try to move on from Christian Woodbrew to try to bring in a better defensive player. But offensively, do you think this won't work? Because offensively, I am certain it will work.
Well, let me say this. Defensively, like you said, they got major problems. They already were a bad defense, and you're exchanging Kyrie Irving, who's been better defensively this year, but certainly he's no Dorian Finney-Smith. Okay,
correct.
So defensively, you're going to be bad. Offensively, I'll give you this, Nick. Before this move, they had no chance of winning the West. And I get it. You're absolutely right. There's no world beater out there, but they weren't winning the West, all right, unless there were just a plethora of injuries everywhere else. Now, if it works, they have a better shot. I think they got slightly better. But here's the deal. Kyrie, and I said Friday, why are you doing this? Because this is a lateral move. He has to do the same prove-it situation that he had in Brooklyn. He's not about to get a long-term contract extension within the next week. He's going to have to keep his mouth, stay out of causing distractions, play great on the court, and win basketball games, and then maybe they'll give you a long-term extension in Dallas, just like it was in Brooklyn. But here's the deal, Nick. In Brooklyn, you were on a better defensive team. In Brooklyn, you had a co-star who was the superstar, the number one guy, but he was a better, more seamless fit with Kyrie than Luka is. I agree it can fit, it can work, but it was a better fit with Durant, and you had the chemistry that you had developed over the course of the entire season. Now they're going to have to take some time to develop chemistry between Luka and Kyrie. Kyrie can play off the ball. He did it with James Harden, and to be honest, even this year, he's not always bringing the ball up the court. He plays a two-guard a lot. So that'll be fine. The question, though, is how's Luka without the ball in his hands?
Luka's
He's got a 41% usage rate. So he's going to be great, of course. That's what he is. But that's going to be a major adjustment for him when he's off the ball. LeBron hasn't always been great off the ball. You see him by the hash mark standing there a lot just watching. Luka's going to have to start moving a little bit more if it's going to work with him off the ball. So I agree they got slightly better, but I still don't think they win the West.
Once Kyrie gets that Porzingis treatment, I don't think he's going to love it too much. Just like, you will go over there. Let Luka cook. 24th in defense, 29th in rebounding. Let's look at this from the Brooklyn side. Two schools of thought here. One is, hey, this team got pretty good defensively. The other is, second round ceiling. KD should ask out. Phoenix banking on the ladder. Chris Haynes says the Suns are looming. Also, Jaylen Brown chatter starting to pop up in certain corners of the basketball world. Brew, do you think KD should ask out?
I mean, look, I would understand. I don't think he should. You got 3 years left on your deal after this one. I think if you just let it play out, maybe in the offseason, if things don't go well, the Nets will be willing to move on. I would, if I'm KD, look, obviously he and Kyrie are great friends.
Are they?
But we know well, I think they're friends, and I think they keep the basketball separate, right? He was ready to move on from Kyrie this offseason. As they will remain friends, we're not going to be teammates. So I don't know that this automatically makes him say, oh, Kyrie's not here, I've got to go. He should give the Nets time, whether it's this upcoming week, before the trade deadline, or early in the offseason. Give them time to see what they can put together around him to, keep building a championship quality team. So, and furthermore, Nick, I wouldn't trade him. Now, certainly not this week if I'm the Nets. There's no way I'd trade him if I'm the Nets right now, unless it's just a blockbuster, no-brainer deal.
You know what you also wouldn't do on Friday? take this.
Okay.
When I offered it to you.
See, bro?
You thought they weren't going to trade Kyrie. And now your next year Nets, I think most people are going to write them off. I, on the other hand, think not only should KD not ask out, I think this presents a brilliant opportunity for Kevin Durant.
Oh, let's hear this.
There is no question now who the bus driver is. There is no question now that the Nets actually, for the first time since he's been there, have legitimate depth and a legitimate opportunity to be a not okay, not average, but very good defensive team. Also, you are bringing in, I would say, 60% of Kyrie's production in Spencer Dinwiddie, and then I like Dorian Finney-Smith a ton. And here's the challenge I would put out to Kevin Durant if I were Jacques Vaughn, if I were Joe Tsai, Sean Marks, anybody. Would anyone in the world be writing off the Nets as finals contenders if they had this exact roster, but in place of Kevin Durant, Giannis was there? No. They wouldn't. If in place of Kevin Durant, Luka was there, no, they wouldn't. I would actually even argue, Brew, given the Nets have so much shooting and now defense all of a sudden, if LeBron were in the place of Durant, this year, this version of LeBron, people would say, they got a shot. If Kevin Durant is, as I think he believes he is, as I know many media members believe he is, the best basketball player in the world, this is a chance, even without a championship, just making the NBA Finals with this team, a la LeBron in 2018, or hell, making the conference finals with this team, a la Luka last year, would be a big deal. And it would be Kevin Durant and a bunch of role players who know exactly what their role is, and then whatever you get from Ben Simmons, which at this point has to just be considered a bonus if you get anything for him. I don't think that the Nets downgraded drastically given what their issues were and given all of the issues that Kyrie brings to the table. So I don't think Wildes, he should ask out. I think he should be excited for this season, for this opportunity, and then you can reevaluate in the summer. But I think for this season, if we're talking about Kevin Durant went to Brooklyn in part to remake his legacy after the Warriors thing, going to Boston doesn't fix that at all. Yeah. If he can take this team on a deep playoff run with no Kyrie and no Harden, that's substantial, that's meaningful.
Conference finals, you'd be happy with that? He's supposed to be like, I did a great job.
Luka got a lot of credit last year for making the conference finals.
That's like,
But Luka is much earlier in his career, obviously. And look, if Kevin Durant were to get traded to Boston, Nick, and win a championship, he would get far more credit. It would be far better for his legacy than if he leads this group of role players to the conference finals. Nobody's going to remember that. It's nice, cute, whatever, but no, it's about winning championships. But I do agree with you. He shouldn't ask for the trade. Give him time to build around you. And you are right. It would look good if he can do this. But championships are what it should be about for him now at this point in his career.
All right, let's check in on LeBron and the Lakers. Mark Stein reporting that Joe Tsai was not trading Kyrie to the Lakers. Maybe it was to stick it to Kyrie. Maybe he didn't like Pelinka. Well, LeBron tweeting, you know what? Maybe it's me. Nick, where does this leave your beloved Lakers? They need more help. He needs more help.
It's not my beloved Lakers.
He needs more help out there.
Oh, do you think they have a good team?
I don't know.
You told me. You just
told me KD can make it to the finals with Spencer Dinwiddie. Maybe LeBron can make it to the playoffs with Anthony Davis.
So let me just ask you.
Go ahead. The floor is yours.
No, Friday you were demanding that I apologize to Rob Pelinka.
If it happens.
No. You were demanding I apologize to Rob Pelinka. Would you like to continue to cape for Rob Pelinka?
I'm not.
You a big Rui Hachimura guy? I'm just curious.
Good.
So here's the deal. This is why, Brew, this strategy was so risky. Because they had the Turner and Hield trade in hand before the season started. Had they made that trade, they wouldn't have started 2-10. Had they made that trade, they'd be in a drastically different position they are now. They didn't, at the hopes that someone like a Kyrie Irving would come available. That person came available, and you couldn't make the deal. Maybe it was because Joe Tsai wanted to stick it to him. Maybe it was because the Nets don't want Durant to ask out, so they wanted complementary pieces instead of Russ's expiring contract. But you cannot, if you are the Lakers, stand pat. Now that we know, it's been reported by multiple teams, they were willing to trade both of those firsts for what might have ended up being a Kyrie Irving rental. Even if he signs an extension, it might be a rental because he's Kyrie Irving and he demands out everywhere he's been over the last over his last 3 stops, I should say. So if they were willing to do that, they have to make a significant move before Thursday in a West that right now, unless you believe, not you, but the generic you, Denver is a juggernaut, which I do not, is as wide open as any conference I can remember, Brew.
Yeah, it is wide open. But here's the thing, and this is why LeBron shouldn't be frustrated. Disappointed? Sure. All right, you missed out on an opportunity to add a great player who would have made you the favorites in the Western Conference, assuming AD stays healthy. But, Nick, I don't think they had the pieces. All right, I think what the Nets got from Dallas is better than Russell Westbrook and those 2 future first-round picks. I think what Phoenix was offering with Chris Paul and Jay Crowder and a first-round pick was better than what the Lakers are offering. So I can't blame Rob Pelinka. He threw his bullets out there, and it wasn't enough. Put on top of that Joe Tsai didn't want to send Kyrie to the Lakers. So I think LeBron just has to understand, hey, Pelinka tried. We didn't have enough, so let's see what we can do this week.
Just real quick, one of the reasons they didn't have enough was because Pelinka hasn't signed any quality role players. That's the thing is, it's like I don't have enough players people want. Whose job is it to get the good players? Oh, yeah, that's my job too. This idea that he's absolved of responsibility for this is nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. He spent the mid-level exception on Kendrick Nunn, who they then had to get rid of. He's the one that chose to keep THT over Kyle Lowry, which I kind of endorse too. But I'm not paid by the Lakers to be right about these things. I'm allowed to be wrong about these things. Give me a break. Like, they didn't have the available pieces because they have not drafted great and they haven't spent good money in free agency. Come on.
All right, we're going to leave the Lakers there. We can discuss more later in the show. Nick's got some fake trades. But next up, talking Chiefs in Arizona. And is it going to be a blowout? Strong maybe. Next.
It all kicks off Super Bowl Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern on Fox.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.